So you know your power hour, that's in part 1 of the series, and you have incorporated caffeine into your routine, that's part 2 of the series. But somehow, you still don't feel energized enough to get started writing. Unfortunately, like everything else, motivating yourself to get started can be quite difficult. Or worse yet, say your power hour is only in the evening and you can't use caffeine to power through it because that will mess up your sleep schedule and cause you to become a zombie the next day. So what can you do? Fortunately, there's a little trick I've discovered to help you get over the hump. And once you've incorporated it into your routine, a lack of energy is going to feel like a thing of the past. In fact, right now, I don't even use it anymore because I've already used this technique so often that I'm now able to associate writing with a positive, energetic feeling, and I'm able to get started straight away. Imagine that, a habit that's so effective that after months of easy implementation, you get its effect, even without having to do it anymore. So, what is the method? Welcome to part 3 of the routine that helped me write 2000 words a day series on priming. What is priming? Now, the reason why I call this part of the routine priming is because of the origin of the word. It comes from two different fields and it points to the two different functions that priming has. Now, despite the two different origins and two different functions, it only has one purpose, which is to help install in you a good, reliable writing habit. The first provenance is from ballistics. Priming is a gunpowder that you place in a firearm or in a bullet to ignite a charge. So think of this as a pre-writing routine that you do to ignite the inspiration for your writing. That is also the first function of priming, to energize you and to get you ready for your writing session. The second origin is from psychology. Priming is a technique where one stimulus affects the subject's response to subsequent stimulus. For instance, if I ask you to smell the scent of, say, a chocolate, before asking you to eat a brown colored candy, which might not necessarily be chocolate, you might actually expect that brown colored candy to taste like chocolate, even if it doesn't taste like that at all. And when you eat it, you might actually notice that subtle chocolate taste when it actually isn't chocolate. Now, in this case, my priming routine puts you in a state of positive, high energy. And then you associate the subsequent task of writing with that feeling of you embodying that level of energy, which makes it easier for you to start writing even if you didn't feel energetic previously. And that is the second function of priming, to associate your writing session with empowerment and good feels. So now that you understand the purpose of priming, what can we actually incorporate into it to make it effective? For me, I use two key elements. The first component is exercise, which energizes the body and oxygenates the brain. And then there is breathing, which gets you into a state of creative relaxation. So let's start with the first component of priming, exercise. Why do I include exercise as the first component of priming? There are plenty of studies that draw the link between exercise and better and more effective thinking due to increased blood flow to the brain, which you can imagine would be tremendously useful for a writer. Not only are you trying to weave complicated plot lines together, building intricate scenes that feature realistic dialogue between your characters, but you're also trying to do this with a varied vocabulary and impeccable grammar. You need your brain to be functioning at its tip-top condition, and exercise boosts blood flow to the brain, leading to better cognition. And yet I know what some of you are thinking. But Masa, I'm already struggling with my own workout routine. Heck, I don't even exercise on a regular basis. So how do I get started? Do not fear. For most writers, you can easily adapt this priming routine to your own personal level of comfort with physical activity. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be a long workout or something that's super tiring. Here are 3 principles that you can follow to craft your own exercise component for priming. Firstly, it should be done in under 1 minute, because the easier it is to do, the more likely it is that it becomes a habit. Secondly, it should be nothing that's too intense. You want to be ready to write and not have to actually shower again before you start your writing session. And thirdly, however, while it's not going to be so intense, it should be intense enough. And how do you know that's intense enough? Well, if you can feel your heart pumping and you're breathing a little harder, I believe that's good enough. Because in the end, your goal is to increase blood flow to the brain, which improves cognition. That's the entire purpose of this component in the first place. For me, it's as simple as 12 squats, or 12 push-ups, or 12 jumping jacks. I do them with enough speed and focus so as to get my muscles engaged and my heart pumping. Usually, I'm done in under 30 seconds. Because this exercise is so short and sweet, it has been very easy for me to do as part of my priming routine. And I would feel as if I've already achieved something even before I started writing, making me even more motivated to do the next thing, which is writing. For you, if these exercises are too little to get your heart pumping, you can change up the exercises to their tougher variants, such as doing diamond push-ups instead of the regular version, or even star jumps instead of jumping jacks. If it's too hard, then do the easier versions, such as standing push-ups against the wall, or simply light jogging on the spot. The key is to keep it between 10 seconds to 60 seconds and to make sure that you can feel your heartbeat pumping faster and harder after the brief exercise session. So if it's too easy, make it harder. If it's too hard, just make it easier. And that's it. We're not even going to do multiple sets. It's just a short, quick burst of activity that's under 1 minute, designed to get your heart pumping, your blood flowing, and your brain in tip-top condition for thinking and writing. It sure sounds a lot more doable now, right? The second component is breathing. For most of us, stress might lead us to develop poor breathing habits, which might mess up the level of oxygen and carbon dioxide that we have in our bloodstream, and that in turn affects our mood, thinking, and productivity. As writers who might be managing the collapse of multiple worlds, or even just navigating through the complex emotional landscape of our main characters, we need to be in the best possible mood and cognitive state for writing. There are many studies that document the positive effects of breathing on our mood and cognition. But just to summarize here, the most important thing is that the heart, brain, and lungs are connected by the vagus nerve. Now, when we perform breathing exercises, the vagus nerve is stimulated, which in turn activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So as some of you already know, that's the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of the fight or flight response. So the parasympathetic nervous system instead is in charge of the rest and digest response, which also puts us in a more relaxed state. Have you ever been in a frantic state while writing? You might be churning out big numbers in terms of word count, but when you reread what you just wrote, you might be baffled at why you even wrote those things in the first place. Chances are you felt like you were under pressure to perform, and that pressure prevented some of the best ideas from floating up into your conscious awareness. So under stress, you were just essentially typing a lot of junk. That's why breathing is important, especially so since we're coming from the previous component, which is exercise. We now have our blood flowing and our brain is oxygenated, but we want to come out of that combative, pressured state and into a relaxed one. Because a relaxed writer is a more creative writer who can not just write words, but also write meaning and life into his or her stories. The following breathing exercise is well researched by the famous Andrew Huberman and is proven to significantly improve mood and reduce stress. It's also known as the physiological sigh. The first step is an inhalation. Now it's very important to use the nose and not the mouth because as research has shown, nasal breathing gives much better effects than mouth breathing. And it also prevents infections through the mucous linings in our nose, which our mouths do not have. This first inhalation is a very regular inhalation. So you just need to breathe in as you normally would. And at where you'd normally stop breathing in, you can just pause as usual. Then the next part is where it's different. You breathe in again. That's right, you heard me correctly. You take a second inhalation, but even more deeply this time. It should not be forced, but it does require a little bit more effort than usual. This part of the exercise is very important because throughout the day, stress and improper breathing or posture can cause our alveoli to collapse in on themselves, which inhibit gaseous exchange in our lungs. So you could be breathing in, but the oxygen and carbon dioxide in our lungs are just not actually exchanging as efficiently as they could in our alveoli. So the second inhalation actually helps to pop this alveoli open to restore our lungs' proper function. And then finally, after the deeper second inhalation, we exhale. Now we want to do this very slowly. So for example, if you took maybe 2 seconds to do the first 2 inhalations, your exhale should take maybe 5 to 10 seconds at least. It can actually take a long period of time. So this part should feel very relaxing, and it's what triggers the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. So if you feel super relaxed even after the first exhalation, it's very normal. That's exactly what this exercise was designed to do. So finally, you can repeat this exercise as many times as you want until satisfied. Although as a priming routine, I would recommend a small manageable number to improve the chances that you'll do it again and again. So somewhere between 5 to 10 is a good number. As a summary, this is the complete priming routine. You start with the exercise component and perform less than 1 minute of quick workout to get your heart pumping. You can customize these exercises to suit you, but I personally do either 12 squats or 12 push-ups or 12 jumping jacks until I feel my heart pumping. Then you can proceed to the second component, which is breathing. For this component, you just need to perform the physiological sigh 5 to 10 times or until you feel relaxed. The amount is once again customizable to suit you. So here are all the reasons why I think you should try out this routine for yourself. First of all, it's fast, so you can do it every day in under 2 minutes before you do your writing session. Secondly, it costs you $0. It's completely free. Thirdly, it's backed by research to be effective in improving your cognition and mood. Fourthly, you can customize it to make sure it suits you. Fifthly, even after not doing this routine for weeks, I still find myself looking forward to a writing session. In other words, it has successfully primed me, using the psychological term, to perceive writing as an energetic, positive experience. As a minor caveat, I have been using the priming routine for months before stopping. Sixthly, it's interchangeable. You can use this same priming routine to motivate you with other activities. So why not get started with it? And lastly, and most importantly, it's fun. Instead of thinking of your writing routine session as a slog that you must get through, you now look forward to it as something that you absolutely love to do. So I hope that you have learned something from this video, and maybe you even come up with your own priming routine. If you do and you find it effective, please share it with me in the comments below so that I can try it out myself. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, as usual, please like and subscribe for more. Happy writing, fellow writers, and see you in the next video.